The ocean, vast and mysterious, has always been a source of both fear and fascination. For centuries, the seas have been home to sailors, traders, and explorers, but they have also played host to some of the most notorious criminals the world has ever seen: pirates. The Golden Age of Piracy, roughly spanning from the late 1600s to the early 1700s, remains one of the most captivating chapters in history, marked by daring heists, violent confrontations, and the pursuit of untold treasures. But while the tales of pirates like Blackbeard and Captain Kidd have been romanticized in countless books, movies, and legends, the truth behind these sea rogues is far more complex, gritty, and sometimes even tragic. Piracy was not a new phenomenon in the 17th century. It had existed in various forms throughout history. However, the Golden Age of Piracy was fueled by the expansion of European colonial empires and the increasing wealth flowing from the New World. Spain, Britain, France, and the Netherlands were locked in fierce competition for territory and resources, creating opportunities for pirates to strike at the heart of these lucrative trade routes. Pirates during this era were often former sailors, mercenaries, and soldiers who had either turned to piracy as a way to survive or, in some cases, were simply driven by a desire for wealth and adventure. For many of these men and women, piracy was a profession, though a dangerous one. Ships like the infamous Queen Anne's Revenge, or Whydah, became symbols of fear and power on the high seas. Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, is arguably the most famous pirate to ever sail the seven seas. Born around 1690 in England, Teach became notorious for his ruthless tactics and distinctive appearance. With a thick black beard that covered much of his face, he struck an intimidating figure that earned him his fearsome moniker, but it was his strategy that truly made him one of the most terrifying pirates in history. Blackbeard was known for his dramatic and theatrical approach to piracy. During battle, he would tie slow-burning fuses into his beard and light them, creating a cloud of smoke around his face, which, combined with his massive frame, made him appear like a demon rising from the depths of the ocean. This fearsome image helped him intimidate both his enemies and those who crossed his path. But Blackbeard's most infamous act was his blockade of the port of Charleston, South Carolina, in 1718. With a fleet of ships, Blackbeard terrorized the city for days, capturing valuable goods and holding hostages for ransom. Eventually, his reign of terror came to an end when he was hunted down by the British Navy. In a fierce battle, Blackbeard was killed, but his legacy lived on. Today, he is remembered as the embodiment of pirate lawlessness and brutality. Anne Bonny and Mary Red, the fearless female pirates. While most pirate stories are dominated by men, the Golden Age of Piracy also saw the rise of two notorious female pirates who defied the norms of the time: Anne Bonny and Mary Red. Both women were known for their fierce temperaments and fighting skills, and they quickly gained reputations as some of the most dangerous pirates of their era. Anne Bonny was born in Ireland in the late 17th century and eventually became involved with piracy in the Caribbean. She joined the pirate crew of Calico Jack Rackham, a notorious pirate captain, and sailed with him on his infamous ship, the Revenge. Bonny was known for her fiery personality, sharp wit, and her ability to fight alongside the men on board. She wore men's clothing and carried weapons, and when confronted, she was unafraid to show her ruthless side. Mary Read, who was also part of Calico Jack's crew, had a similar story. Born in England, Read dressed as a man for much of her early life and enlisted in the British military. It wasn't until later in life that she became a pirate, joining Bonny on their pirate adventures. Together, Bonny and Read fought with ferocity, and their legendary partnership made them feared figures in the Caribbean. The two women were eventually captured and sentenced to death, but they managed to escape execution. Bonny, allegedly pregnant at the time, was granted a stay of execution, while Read's fate remains uncertain, though it is believed she died in prison. Despite their short-lived pirate careers, Anne Bonny and Mary Read left a lasting impact on pirate lore, demonstrating that women, too, could be ruthless and cunning in a male-dominated world. The legacy of the pirate legends. Pirates like Blackbeard, Anne Bonny, and Mary Read captured the imagination of the public, both in their time and long after their deaths. Their stories, full of violence, betrayal, treasure, and adventure, became a part of folklore. But their true stories reveal a much harsher reality, one that was shaped by poverty, survival, and the constant threat of death. Piracy was not a glamorous lifestyle, it was brutal and unforgiving. Most pirates faced grim ends, either killed in battle, executed, or left to die in poverty. The pirate ships that once struck terror into the hearts of sailors were often ill-maintained and barely seaworthy, crewed by men who had nothing to lose. Yet, the allure of piracy endures to this day. Their stories, whether factual or embellished, continue to captivate audiences worldwide. From the pages of history books to the silver screen, pirates have become symbols of rebellion, freedom, and adventure. The legends of pirates are shrouded in myth, often romanticized as adventures of freedom and untold riches. But what was life really like aboard a pirate ship? While Hollywood movies and adventure tales often depict pirates as lovable rogues who lived in luxury, the reality was far more grim and dictated by the harsh laws of piracy. The Pirate Code, rules on the high seas. Pirates, despite their lawless reputation, lived by a strict code of conduct that governed every aspect of life aboard a pirate ship. This pirate code was not a universal set of laws, but rather a collection of rules that each pirate crew agreed upon before setting sail. These codes were written down and signed by all crew members, ensuring that everyone followed the same rules. The Pirate Code was designed to maintain order and discipline in an environment that could easily descend into chaos. The code included rules about the division of treasure, the treatment of fellow crew members, and the punishment for breaking the law. For example, crew members were expected to receive an equal share of the loot, and any disputes were settled by a vote of the crew. Disobedience or theft could result in severe punishment, ranging from flogging to being marooned on a deserted island. Perhaps the most surprising aspect of the Pirate Code was its provision for compensation for injuries. Pirates who lost a limb or were injured during an attack were often entitled to a monetary reward, which would be drawn from the ship's treasure. This was a form of early workers' compensation, highlighting the solidarity among pirates, despite their often violent and lawless nature. The search for pirate treasure, fact versus fiction. The idea of hidden pirate treasure buried on remote islands is one of the most enduring myths associated with pirates. The image of pirates burying their treasure in secret locations has been perpetuated by books like Treasure Island and countless Hollywood films. But in reality, the concept of buried treasure is largely a fantasy. While it is true that some pirates did accumulate vast fortunes through looting and pillaging, the idea that they carefully buried their loot on deserted islands is highly exaggerated. Most pirate treasure was spent quickly on food, drink, and supplies, or was taken to ports and spent in taverns or brothels. Pirates rarely buried their treasure, as it was a risky and inefficient way to hide wealth. That being said, some treasure hunts have indeed taken place over the centuries, with amateur treasure hunters searching for the fabled treasure of pirates like Captain Kidd. But the true treasure of piracy wasn't found in buried chests. It was in the fleeting moments of freedom, adventure, and the pursuit of wealth on the open sea. Pirates in popular culture, from villains to heroes. The image of pirates as ruthless villains has evolved over time. In the early 20th century, pirates were often portrayed as sinister figures, symbols of lawlessness and greed. But as pirate legends continued to capture the imagination of writers and filmmakers, pirates began to be seen as rebellious anti-heroes, fighting against oppressive empires and living outside the law. The most famous portrayal of pirates in modern times is undoubtedly Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. Played by Johnny Depp, Sparrow's character is a charming, eccentric, and somewhat disreputable pirate who defies authority and lives life on his own terms. Sparrow's portrayal reflects the modern fascination with pirates as symbols of freedom and rebellion, despite their often violent and chaotic lifestyles. By the early 18th century, piracy began to wane as colonial powers cracked down on pirate activities. The British Navy, in particular, launched campaigns to rid the seas of pirates, and by the 1730s, the Golden Age of Piracy was effectively over. Many pirates were captured and executed, while others were forced to retire or disappear into the shadows. Despite their fall from power, pirates continue to live on in history, folklore, and popular culture. Their stories remain some of the most captivating, illustrating the human desire for adventure, freedom, and the pursuit of treasure on the high seas.